Hello, and welcome back to another episode. I hope you are doing well and are ready to hedge your bets as we roll the dice on another series by breaking down its pilot episode. Because, like you, I have far too little time and so much to bloody watch. Therefore, for the next 20-ish minutes, I'll be running you through the pilot episode of Netflix's new limited series, All the Lights We Cannot See. This is how we do over here. We start with breaking down who's in the series, as well as who wrote and directed it, taking a little nosy into their filmographies. After that, I'll give you a quick episode synopsis before I break down the first 10 minutes. I'll get into why the first 10 minutes a little later. After all the formalities, I'll give a close inspection at the main characters, some favourite and least favourite moments from the pilot episode, before we look at the end of episode hook and finally see if that was enough to convince me to watch the entire series, or at least the second episode. I'm Jen, and this is what we're working with for the historical drama series All the Lights We Cannot See. In terms of a pilot title, we are unfortunately without one. There's just no pilot title, people, so it looks like I'm going to have to name it myself. So I think from what I was getting, from what the pilot episode was giving, I would call it Like Stars in the Night Sky. Yes, I do hate myself a little more every time I use the phrase "it's giving" as a lazy bridge, but here we are. Regarding episode length, the pilot was 1 hour and 4 minutes, which yes, is on the longer side, and personally I think the fat could have been trimmed a bit to get it to around the 55-minute mark, but I will admit I was never bored as I was watching it, so perhaps the 1 hour and 4 minute mark was exactly where it needed to be. The pilot episode was written by Stephen Knight and Anthony Doerr. Doerr we'll get to in a minute, but Knight is best known for being the writer, creator and executive producer for the British period crime drama series Peaky Blinders, starring Cillian Murphy. Knight also wrote the 2023 serial adaptation of Great Expectations and the 2021 movie Spencer, starring Kristen Stewart. Knight also created All the Lights We Cannot See, along with the series director Shawn Levy. Now, Shawn Levy's filmography is thick with 3 C's. He has directed the likes of Big Fat Liar and Cheaper by the Dozen back in the day. He also directed Free Guy, The Adam Project, and the upcoming Deadpool 3 movie. And yes, Ryan Reynolds is of course a theme in those last 3 mentioned. Levy has also directed 8 episodes of Stranger Things, which, do you know what, people? I still haven't seen. It's on the list. I'm going to get to it eventually. He also executive produced Stranger Things, as well as Last Man Standing, which is a comedy series with Tim Allen that I really enjoyed while it was running. I'm Not Okay With This, Dash and Lily, and the Shadow and Bone series on Netflix. In terms of cast, firstly, we have Aria Mia Liberti as Marie-Laure LeBlanc, and All the Light We Cannot See is actually her acting debut. Like her character, Aria is legally blind and secured the role after a worldwide search for a blind or low vision actor. Next, we have Lewis Hoffman, who plays Werner, and he has starred in a number of German film and television series since 2010, including You Are Wanted, Dark, and Life After Life. Following Hoffman, we have Lars Edinger, who plays Sergeant Major Reinhold von Rumpel. That's a mouthful. He has also starred in numerous and predominantly German works since 2002, including the series Babylon Berlin and Irma Vep. Edinger also had a role in Netflix's Sense8 and the Dumbo live-action movie, which I completely forgot existed until this moment in time, and I never ended up seeing. Next on the cast list, we have Hugh Laurie, who plays Etienne LeBlanc. Laurie is likely known to most for his role as Dr. Gregory House in the procedural medical drama House. To rattle off a few bits from his vast filmography, Laurie has also starred in the series Avenue 5, Veep, The Night Manager, and has been in movies such as The Personal History of David Copperfield, Arthur Christmas, and Stuart Little. Mark Ruffalo plays Daniel LeBlanc, and he is known to most for his role in the Avengers franchise as Bruce Banner, aka the Hulk. Ruffalo also has a lengthy filmography once you sift through all the Marvel-related stuff. He has starred in 13 Going on 30, Now You See Me, Shutter Island, Zodiac, and Spotlight, to name a few. All the Light We Cannot See is of course being shown on Netflix and has a series length of 4 episodes, which I suppose is fine because it's a limited series. What's the definition of a limited series, you wonder? Well, so do I, and I will get back to you on that. Now, also to note, the series, All the Light We Cannot See, is based on the novel of the same name by Anthony Doerr, whose name I mentioned earlier as one of the writers for the pilot episode. His novel, which came out in 2014, won the Pulitzer Prize for fiction. Even though I have not read it, I love to encourage a bit of reading. So for anyone who is interested, it's around the 530 page mark if you're picking it up in paperback. From what I recall, this novel then sparked a surge in World War II themed heroine perspective books. And that's what we have for the credits. So let's move on to the pilot synopsis. It's August 1944, and the Americans are attempting to liberate the Nazi-Occupied Saint Malo. During their raids, a blind girl risks her life to broadcast across the airways and brings hope to all who hears, including a young German soldier who risks his life to protect her voice. Now, I am not going to lie to you, I didn't actually intend to watch this series at all. The book synopsis at the time didn't captivate me when it was at the height of popularity, and the clips I saw of the series followed suit. So, why am I sat here going through the pilot episode with you? Because there was nothing else on this week, people, okay? That's why I'm here. But that doesn't mean I went into this episode negatively. I'm a professional, people, which is a great segue into the next portion where we look at the first 10 minutes of the pilot episode. Why the first 10 minutes? Well, because as an amateur screenwriter, I was always taught that the first 10 minutes is where you need to grip your reader and eventually your audience, or risk losing them. That 10-ish minute mark is also typically either the start of the inciting incident or the end of Act 1. I love using Disney's The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe as an example because your girl Lucy was opening the wardrobe 12 minutes into the movie and she was chilling in Narnia by minute 13. Once you recognise this particular beat, it's kind of hard to unsee. With that being said, this is how things go for the first 10 minutes of the pilot episode of All the Light We Cannot See. It starts with a haunting violin music as we cross a body of water at night. We are told with on-screen text that this is Saint Malo, Nazi-occupied France, August 1944. Then in come the cavalry, US Army Air Force's 565th Bomb Squadron, and they are immediately attacked by ground crew, and in response they drop bombs, destroying buildings wherever the bombs land, because that's what bombs do. Now, during the bombings, we meet a girl who we later learn is Marie, and she is sending a message across the radio waves to her papa and her uncle Etienne. She doesn't know if they can hear her, but there's clearly a hopefulness that they can as she tells them she loves them. The nearby blast of a bomb shatters the windows and flings her from the table, but with determination, she gets up and gets back to the task at hand, a broadcast, where she reads 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne to anyone who, again, may be listening. The camera eventually goes to the book and we see it is written in Braille and she's using her fingers to read. This is where we learn that this girl is blind. Moving on from her, we go to the Hotel of Bees, where the German radio surveillance headquarters are based. A bomb has destroyed some of the structure and has killed many men except two, one who sits and drinks and the other, Werner, who listens to the girl's reading of Jules Verne. There is a melancholy between the two soldiers, one of who talks of death, which will undoubtedly soon be knocking at their door, and the other, Werner, who talks about the radio and how when he was young he used to listen to a foreign broadcast, a French radio station hosted by a French professor. Through this, he learnt the language. It's the same frequency that now broadcasts a girl reading a book. Werner's final words to this fact is, "And I will never know who she is." Then a bomb is dropped and the two men are presumed dead. Back to the girl, she says goodbye to her listeners, sends a final message of love to her lost father and uncle, and switches off. With the German buildings destroyed, the Americans fly over Saint Malo, dropping leaflets which rain down, which is visually very beautiful but practically irresponsible as there is literally fire everywhere, but okay. The girl hears the flutter of paper and manages to get hold of one that comes through her bomb-blasted open windows. She feels and smells the paper for information, but it doesn't give her anything, and so she has no idea what it says, and listeners, neither do I, because I can't read French. If the words had been in Spanish, then I might have been able to shed some light. She releases the paper back into the air where others continue to rain down, and with that, at 8 minutes and 31 seconds, the opening is complete. We then have the opening credits, and gentle instrumental music plays over a few hints to what some of the themes and characters and potential plots of the series could be about. We have a lot of wood. We have whittling instruments, we have glasses, a book in Braille, a radio mic, of course, and these are all established around a miniature wooden town that someone has lovingly created. And the end of that opening sequence takes us right to the 10-minute mark, so I will stop right there. Let's talk main characters, and for all the light we cannot see, there are two. Firstly, Marie LeBlanc, and we automatically understand that Marie is a determined, resilient, and unshakable individual. She doesn't let a little bomb blast get in her way of her broadcasting across the airways, an act that is punishable by death. Oh yes, Marie is also blind, and it's interesting to watch her navigate life in Saint Malo. We get to see some of the work she and her father put in from when she was a little girl to make sure she had her independence. What's really great is that we aren't feeling sorry for this girl. She, like everyone, is simply navigating her Nazi-occupied town and doing what she can for the resistance. Our second principal character is Werner, this young German soldier with a philosopher's heart. He clings to the ways about the world he was taught from a young age, knowledge he acquired illegally by listening to a French philosopher. Werner is also smart. He built a radio from scratch as a kid. As a kid, I was struggling with the coloured block thingies we were given to play with in nursery. But Werner's intellect isn't to be mistaken for weakness. As we learn in the pilot episode, he shows us that there is a coldness to him that we should be wary about. In terms of antagonists, we have Sergeant Major Reinhold von Rumpel. He is looking for a blind girl that everyone in the town of Saint Malo is adamant to have never met before in their entire lives. Unfortunately for the loyal citizens, Rumpel is willing to kill everyone to get the information he seeks. Rumpel is a bit of a wild card for the majority of the episode, as we have no idea what it is that he wants from Marie until the final seconds. There is something sinister about him though, and we later learn there is also a level of desperation in his actions. That really doesn't come across, so there is nothing to set him apart from the other pro-Hitler German soldiers in Saint Malo who refuse to let anyone evacuate before more bombs rain down. Moving on to my favourite line from the pilot episode of All the Light We Cannot See. It occurs during a discussion Werner is having with a fellow soldier who went to the same hardcore training institute that he did. They are reminiscing, or more like commiserating, as they recall a saying from one of the commanders there. You either die like a lion or go over like a glass of spilt milk. My brain then did a thing where it imagined a lion drinking a glass of cold milk, but I found it such an odd phraseology which made it so poignant, especially if you look at the two characters who were having this conversation. Part of me also wonders if the saying makes more sense in German, but we'll just have to leave it at that for now. On the flippity flip side, looking at what I didn't like from the pilot episode, it's less of a dislike and just something I thought was a bit jarring. And it has to do with the pilot's antagonist, von Rumpel. But first, a bit of context. We have a flashback where a young Marie is told by her papa a legend surrounding a stone called the Sea of Flames. The stone is cursed, and if you touch it, then whoever you love will suffer terrible misfortune, but if you possess the stone, you yourself will never die. This all eventually links with the present when we learn that Rumpel is incurably sick. He doesn't care about the ongoing war or the fate of Saint Malo at all. What he seeks from Marie is information that he believes her father shared with her about the whereabouts of the Sea of Flames that he hopes will cure him. Now, to me, that all just felt a little bit too fantastical, especially surrounding all the, real life danger of war going on. But I suppose the most desperate of men will do the darndest things. That's why I say it's not something I disliked. It's just something that felt a bit jarring, especially for a historical drama. Now, moving on to the end of episode Hook. Rumpel finally manages to track down Marie, who, in desperate need for food, has gone to a cave to scavenge for oysters or some such crustacean. Rumpel asks Marie to tell him about the Sea of Flames, as he presumes her father would have told her about its location. Marie claims to know nothing, but Rumpel begins counting down, vowing to kill her by the time he gets to 0 if he doesn't get the information he's after. Now, we've seen Rumpel make the same ultimatum towards somebody at the start of the episode, so we know he ain't playing. At that moment, the Americans are launching their second onslaught on the Germans in Saint Malo. The cave that they're in goes dark just as a shot rings out, and that is the end of episode 1. In regards to the serial arc, it's hard to say. So far we have the search for a mysterious gem, a radio broadcast, a missing papa, and a young German soldier who doesn't believe in the uniform. So the threads of narrative will definitely be following those storylines, but it's hard to gauge to what degree. And of course, fated Marie and Werner should end up meeting at some stage. From a historical aspect, though, World War II ends in September 1949, and the events that play out in the pilot episode of All the Light We Cannot See take place 13 months before this date. So who knows, maybe the next 3 episodes will shift further forward in time as we watch the war drawing to an end. In terms of the questions I have at the end of the pilot episode that leave me considering watching episode 2, where is Marie's papa? We never see him in the present. Is he alive? Is Werner a double agent now? I feel like he's moving mad and hasn't really thought this all the way through, like, at all. Is he going to protect Marie's broadcast to the death? What's the plan here, buddy? Finally, to be honest, I'm not the slightest bit worried about Marie. I'm sure she's fine after that whole confrontation in a cave and a gun shop, but someone do let me know if I was completely wrong about that. And now we've reached that point. After watching the pilot episode, will I be continuing with All the Light We Cannot See? Pause for dramatic effect. It's a reluctant yes. Okay, reluctant is a bit of a strong term, but it's a pesky limited series. It's only 4 episodes. I mean, the first episode was okay. Am I gagging to watch the next one immediately? No, but I think it could be quite a slow, easy watch for me. Like if I've got nothing to do on a random Friday night or random Saturday night, as is the case with most of my Friday and Saturday nights, then maybe I'll want to sit down and watch an episode. It was an easy, inoffensive watch. It wasn't very dramatic, but I mean, right now I'm currently rewatching Matt Smith's Doctor Who, so I've got all the drama I need in life right now. But that's just me. If you're in the mood for something short and have nothing to lose, then I would say go for it. If you like a historical drama but you're not a stickler for historical accuracy, then another checkbox for you. Yes, there were a few deaths by explosion, debris and guns, but it's not a violent programme. It's actually very soft. So if that's right up your alley, then All the Light We Cannot See could be the show for you. I have not read the book, so I'll leave that to someone else to make that comparison and contraction. No, that's not right. To compare and contrast. My job is to judge the pilot episode alone, and with that said, there's only one last thing to do. Give the pilot a score out of 5. Today, I'm going right down the middle with a 2.5. The setup of Marie and her radio broadcast, the frequency and how it leads to Werner was really well done, and you automatically hope for the day they eventually meet. The closed world of Saint Malo was really interesting in the way the citizens looked out for each other, but especially Marie. Marie is a character, and even Werner, it feels like we only really scratched the surface with them in the pilot episode. We are sort of passively watching their lives, but we're not quite at the point of rooting for them, which is another reason why I've given this a sort of medium to low score. Ultimately, it was an easy watch, but I wasn't blown away. Now that we've hashed out the fundamental principles, will you be giving the pilot episode a watch? Or have you already binged all 4 episodes of All the Light We Cannot See? Let me know over on Twitter/X at Pilot Principle. Make sure to follow and rate this podcast on your audio streamer of choice. Have a lovely week, and I'll catch you on the next episode.